How's it going? Fox back again. This was going to be another request, but I've been smashing my head against this for about 2 days now, and I just can't get it like the sound that the chap wanted. Anywho, I have made a sort of deep house new disco bass. I've done 2 layers to it. It sort of came out of this request from this chap. I'm not going to give him a shout or anything because it's nowhere near what he wanted me to do, but I spent a lot of time and I ended up just making this. So this is what we've got. I'll play it with a little drum loop that I've made. So 2 layers, one is a sub. Quite a wide sub. For some reason it sounded to fit better with the other patch, and this is the main bass patch what we're going to be going over. Real snappy, real metallic, a lot of FM going on in there. Well, it's the FM from a sub oscillator. I use that quite a lot in a lot of these sort of sounds that I make. Really does make a difference. I've only used it on 1 oscillator. I've got them spread apart, 7 semitones, as well as an octave apart, which helps give it a more rounded feel. So yeah, this is the main patch we're going to be going over, so I will go ahead and initialize this. So it was an analog. It was a basic CWJ for oscillator 8. Pitch it down 1 octave. I don't know, this must be coming from an old hardware synth because the waveforms are really groovy. You go from a sine wave with a couple of bit of analogy clicks you can see, to a triangle with the same thing, to like a tri-state, to a really funky saw wave with some lovely little analogy bits in it. You can see it's got some real cool harmonics and grit at the top and the bottom of the spikes, which all adds to making a sound cool. So wavetable position, I had it on 188 or as near as damn it. So it was sort of a blend between a square wave and a triangle wave. Say down 1 octave, 2 voices unison, pull the unison down, crank the level up. I used a bit of pulse width modulation on this. Lovely start for a sound like this. Yeah, I didn't really do nothing else to it. It's real basic. I did pan this one to the right slightly, 23. We're going to pan oscillator B to the left, same 23. Pitch this one down 1 octave as well, but then I'm going to push this up 7 semitones to give it a bit of a chorded feel. I know it's only 2 notes, but volume of this one down slightly. Sub oscillator on a sine wave, 2 octaves down. So, amp envelope, sustain on 0, decay time of around about 700 milliseconds. Just play with it till we get a plucky sort of sound. Just adds a little bit of punch at the start of the sound. No sustain means that it's just going to continue over the decay time for however long a note is pressed. Shorter decay, faster the note decreases to 0. So 700, 800 milliseconds. So everything's going to go through the filter now. Now we've got the sub oscillator turned on, I will introduce that FM. So as I said, oscillator B, FM from sub. That means we're going to use the sub oscillator shape, which is a sine wave 2 octaves down, to modulate the frequency or the pitch of oscillator B. Now if I turn oscillator A off, well, you're going to hear what it is instantly. It just adds grit. It adds some instability as well. Every other now and again you get a sort of a misfire with this FM. I don't know whether it's the wave starting over again, but I say when you tame it with a filter, it makes everything sound analogy and a bit more, I would say fluent, but not constant, if you get what I mean. Sometimes the notes sound a little bit different, a little bit more edgy. I think it sounds really cool when you mix it together with one that's just a bit more stable. Especially when the high notes are coming in this MIDI clip, you can really hear that. Every now and again I've got a note that's sort of an octave higher. We're going to do a neat trick with some note sort of modulation on a filter later on. But for now we're going to turn the filter on, keep it on an MG low 12, introduce some resonance, some drive and some fatness just to help beef it all up. We're then going to modulate this to close over time with an envelope. The way you do that is you have the sustain on full, so when it gets there it stays to that point, and you use the attack time to close it however long you want it to take to close. I use this to modulate quite a few parameters, but we'll set the filter up to start with. So I had an attack of around about a quarter of a second, 240 milliseconds, 260, something like that. We're going to grab this, drop it on the cutoff, and bring it back virtually all the way to about -50. We're going to route everything through it, so A, B, and the sub. Make sure they're all highlighted. When they're highlighted up in that sort of whitey blue, that means that the signal is going into the filter. If you uncheck it, it's going to bypass the filter. So we want everything going into it. We're going to use that same envelope to flick this pulse width mod round on oscillator A. We're going to do it negative about -43. So it's going from a thin pulse to a wider pulse. That really mixes well with a filter because we're going from frequencies high to frequencies low. You can see the filter, the envelope is closing the filter from high to low. So a thin pulse to a wider pulse is going from thinner frequencies to more deeper, bassier sound. Shorter note length is a higher frequency, a higher pitch. A longer note length is a lower, deeper sound. I'm also going to use that envelope to close the sub-oscillator volume off as the filter shuts. Helps it have more edge, helps it have a slightly brighter sound, but yet still when the envelope is closing the filter it has a deeper edge towards the end of the sound. Also gonna, for that same reason, gonna use it to close the resonance off over time as well. So you get a resonant peak at the start, and as the filter closes off, the resonance comes down. So the trick with this note, I'll do this quite a lot. The way you do this, it all depends on what notes you got in the MIDI clip, but you can see the notes bouncing around. I'm on velocity, so it's not going to be able to show you doing that, is it? The note. So yeah, you can see these notes playing around. This is your octave. This is your 8 octaves. So you got whatever it is, C0 to C8. If you want a little bit more of a flair to come in on some higher notes, then if you assign this to the cutoff, which I'm going to drag the note, assign it to the cutoff. Not much. just a little bit to the right. And then when you see these notes bouncing around, you have to play with it. You want the lower ones to be right at the bottom so it's having no effect. And when it pings to one of the higher notes, an octave up, you get the general idea. We're using that note sort of line, if you get what I mean, to show that when it's a lower note, the filter is staying at its normal position, the envelope's having a desired effect. When it's playing a higher note, it's opening it up to the full amount of what you've designated it to as a modulation destination. I haven't explained that very well, but yeah, it's real straightforward. You can see that green line bouncing around. If you get it so the higher notes are pinging at the top and the lower notes are pinging it at the bottom, you're going to have that key following effect on a filter. You can see it bouncing up when the high note comes in. So some effects now, just to help widen it all out and make it sound a bit bigger. So turn the hyper dimension on. Didn't use any hyper, just used the dimension. I pulled the size down to about 10%. I'll bring the mix in slowly so you can hear the effect that it's having. Dimension is a good name for it. It helps. It's like a stereo effect in effect if you don't have the hyper on. Doesn't create any more voices, you just sort of disregard the unison section, it's just making it sound bigger. I then had a delay on. I changed it to ping pong so it was bouncing across the stereo field. I made a bandpassy sort of shape and aimed it around about 280 hertz, something like that. Left 1/2, right, left 1/4, right 1/2. Push the delay up under the hyper dimension. I then just used a compressor. Quite a quick attack. Middling ratio. Push the threshold out a bit. Introduce the gain till it bites. That little flicking of orange and red, sometimes that can, it's clipping, so people will tell you that you don't want that, but it mixes real well with the FM that we got, and you can always EQ a bit of it out if need be. Adds a bit of punch. So yeah, that's that part of the sound done. So real straightforward. What I've actually got on it, nothing. I've just got a bit of basic compression, just some EQ, and just bringing out around about 400 hertz. Bring in the sub. Sub is real basic. I use a D-bussy and a prime, a little bit of modulation on a wavetable, everything going through a low pass filter, no filter or envelope modulation or anything like that. Nothing on the effects section. Just a real basic sub. I've let through a lot more frequencies than you would with a basic sub, just to help it fill up a little bit more of the low end. Yeah, the two together, just got them compressed and Ableton preset on the glue compressor, punch and parallel. And that's it, everything all in. There you go. This preset is available to download in the description at the bottom. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe. Many more tutorials to come. If you do have any crests, send them to me. If they take me longer than an hour and a half like this one did, or 2 hours, then I'll probably end up just making one myself. But I'll always have a go. So please send them through to my Facebook page. It's Sound Design Tutorials. As always, thanks for watching. Cheers.